Now there's an old saying about what goes around comes around, and it's very true. Eventually the old, like these Roman ruins here behind me, catches up with the new. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about an old name, Sachs, because years ago if you owned a Sachs it would have been an engine, because they were famous for making their engines. They made engines for all sorts of people, and really they were the Rotax of yesteryear. Well, now we've got something a little bit different because we've gone full circle. We've got a Sachs motorbike, but this time somebody else is making the engine. In this case it's Suzuki, because in this we've got a big thumping single-cylinder 650cc motor which is lifted straight out of a Suzuki Freewind, so you know there's going to be nothing wrong with that. But this combination of Sachs using other people's engines is nothing new really. They've been doing it for a little while now, and there are currently 3 models in the range. There's the XTC 125, which is a little sport model. That uses an engine from Yamaha, from the TZR 125. There's also a Roadster 125, which is basically the same shape as this. That also uses a Yamaha engine, straight out of a Virago. And still to come, there's an 800cc, which is currently in production, and again, that's going to use a Suzuki engine out of the 800cc Marauder. So there we go, you see, we've got German engineering, Japanese technology. You could probably say we've got the best of both worlds.
The first thing to strike me when I climbed aboard was the excellent riding position. Nice wide bars, which are also fairly high, so you won't have a problem with backache on this machine. The next thing was the superb manoeuvrability. At just 169 kilograms, the low-speed handling is second to none. U-turns on a tight country road are an absolute doddle.
So it's quite different, isn't it, this Sachs? Well, I think it's quite different. In fact, I'm struggling to think of anything that's on the market at the moment that really compares to it very much. CCM springs to mind. They do a big single-cylinder motor, again in a cradle frame like this, but that is more expensive, and that really has got its origins in motocross. This has been made and designed to look like this. It is a true roadster. And as I say, the engine's from a Suzuki. They pinch other parts from everywhere else as well. Brakes on the front are Gramica, Spanish made. Not quite got the stopping power of your top superbikes, you can't stand it on its nose, but with an engine that only develops about 50 brake horsepower and has a top speed of about 105 miles an hour, you don't really need to stand it on its nose. Coming down to the back here again, retro as I said before, twin shocks, proper twin shocks, all pretty basic stuff. Box section, swing arm, nothing fancy there. But these wheels are definitely worth a mention, German wheels. Look at the width of that rim, 4.5-inch rim there with a 160 tyre, so it makes the tyre, or should I say the rim, just about as wide as the tyre. Looks pretty smart. Coming up to the front end here, retro again as I say. Chrome backs are all these, big chrome back headlamp there. Very, very functional, nothing fancy. If it doesn't need it, basically it isn't there. Fuel tank is plastic. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone's making plastic fuel tanks these days. The Triumphs, they've nearly all got plastic fuel tanks. No problem with them. The only trouble is you can't, as we've said before, use a magnetic tank bag, but this really isn't the sort of bike that you want to be touring. It's more you're buzzing around town and getting to work and back type of machine.
In fact, Hartmut Hun, who's the head of development at Sachs, he describes this as an honest, timeless machine. Well, I'd say that's not far off the mark. And for a big 4-stroke single, it's relatively vibration-free, even at a sustained 70 miles an hour. But with no wind protection, 50 miles an hour around the lanes is much more realistic.
You know, I think I've took a wrong turning somewhere. It just goes to show that this Sachs 650 is a roadster. Definitely not an off-roadster. Is that corny or what? German engineering then, combined with Japanese technology. That should make a pretty good combination, shouldn't it? Well, I have to say, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty decent bike. Not a super bike. It's not meant to be a super bike, and it would be unfair to compare this to your Yamahas, Hondas and Kawasaki's of this world. But I think it fills a hole in the market that, well, it is a big hole at the moment. If you think about it, there's nothing to choose from, really, in the way of big single-cylinder roadster-type machines, unless you think back to the days of Honda's XPR 500. But this really, I think, fills a gap. The only thing I'm not sure about is this colour. This is actually called Volvo Aubergine. I don't know who dreamt that one up, but I think it's something better that would be left in the world of 4 wheels, if you ask me. But bad colour doesn't make it a bad bike. Nice little bike and a nice price as well. Just £4,500, yeah, £4.5 grand will put this roadster on the road.